I keep
It's
calling
not
it
exclusive
video, but there were other reporters.
No, this video is raw, unedited video. So there may be some points that we have to pause and move through a few things
Sure.
that or were never meant to air. But this is the courts inside of the detention center. There's a number of immigration courts and immigration judges that are there, and every day they are doing the hearings, and you can see the detainees inside there watching, and you'll see people walking through the tour. They are tour guides. They work for ICE. They work for the prisoners. They're the detention center.
So this is what you're talking about, the court that's inside.
Yes. So we weren't allowed inside the courtrooms,
Okay.
but then they were all in session too. And so then that's the hallway where all the courtrooms are, and the detainees are brought in and put in kind of holding areas while they wait for their hearings.
Wow.
Lawyers are coming in, immigration lawyers. And this is a view, I believe, from the outside of the court area. It has the feel of a prison, but it's a detention center. So you'll see it looks like it has the security aspects and kind of what you would think of as a prison.
Right.
It is not a prison.
So
it's just kind of a look at some of the exterior shots of the building.
I'm going to write this lower third real quick, type this up.
Go ahead.
But feel free to continue talking to our viewers about what you saw.
So we're about to head into the intake area. This is where new detainees come in, and they get processed. So they come in off of whatever. Sometimes they're transferred from other prisons. Sometimes they are taken in by ICE. Sometimes they're taken in by the Border Patrol. And inside, the first thing they get is really a medical exam. And they have it set up there. They showed us what happens. You get just a basic checkup to see what's going on and ask them what kind of medical conditions they have. That's before they get checked into the facility. There are nurses on staff 24/7, and there are nurse practitioners, physician's assistants, and doctors there on a regular basis. So you come in and you get kind of this checkup, this medical checkup. You get processed. You have to give them your belongings, and they get stored. This is one of the holding cells where they, when they come in, they put you while you wait to get processed.
Wow.
A little bit more of medical equipment, just blood pressure monitoring and all that kind of stuff. They also they have the capabilities to do a chest x-ray there. They have an x-ray machine on site, and they send that x-ray off to the University of Maryland that contracts with them, and they look at that chest x-ray and make sure whatever issues may be going on, no tuberculosis and highly contagious type diseases.
Well, I mean, one of the things that we touched upon a little bit on our morning show tea is just the fact that this detention center has a high rate of suicide, right?
Yes. And why? That's not clear. We certainly didn't get
any answers yesterday.
Not really, because they don't really have any answers either. In talking to them, they just kind of are like, how do we?
Right.
We don't know. Like, we can't. If someone is suicidal, they're under a 24-hour watch. And I asked them if anyone has ever successfully committed suicide while they're under that watch, and they said no. So there was a recent suicide that was kind of controversial, but it was ruled a suicide by the medical examiner there. And a lot of outside groups have been calling for an investigation.
Right.
That's part of the reason why they allowed us to come on this tour, is they kind of want to show that, what you're hearing in their perspective is not the reality. That's what they think.
Because they've got a lot of negative press as a result of
and what
suicides.
What you're seeing right now on the video, this is some of the bags where they store people's belongings when they come in. So, I mean, you'll see some more of the belongings in a minute, but some people actually they have suitcases. Like, it's not what you kind of expect. Like,
you would come in with nothing,
with sacks or nothing, or just like backpacks.
Yeah.
And people literally have suitcases. This is somebody in one of the holding cells. And just in that day when we were there, we saw people that were from Asia and from Latin America.
Here's an interesting point. Apple Snapple saying they get better health care than homeless vets. That makes me mad.
Well, there's a doctor there, and if they do need medical attention, they get it.
Are detainees treated more comfortably than an inmate in jail? Rachel wants to know.
Well, I think that's subjective. It depends on the jail. Some jails are better than others. I am definitely better than Tent City. I'll tell you that much, and the food is certainly better than Jar Arpaio's jails.
So do they just have unlimited, I guess I'm trying to think, if they're cooking themselves, does the facility provide them with just a set number of ingredients? And do you have access to
There's a
meats
nutritionist that kind of makes the
vegetables?
menu.
Okay.
And the menu cycles over every certain amount of time. I don't remember the exact amount of time. What you're seeing right now in the video is just some of if someone needs to be handcuffed or whatever, that's just video of what that is.
Okay.
And then they end up being classified in uniforms based on their criminal history.
Oh.
So if someone, say, is a murderer, they're accused of or convicted of murder, and they have that on their record, and they're here in this country illegally, and they're ordered to be held in this center, they're going to wear, I can't remember the exact color, I think it might have been one of the colors that makes them more serious. The lowest level ones are in a certain color. So they have different levels of seriousness, or I guess you could say, of someone's criminal history. And that limits sort of where they're housed and kind of how they go about their daily life in the facility. So the people of the lowest criminal history are in a certain uniform so that the guards can tell who does what.
You mentioned, people with, more extreme criminal histories, for example, if they committed murder. Any recent suspects from recent cases that are being held here right now?
It's hard to say. The people that we spoke to, one of them had a drug conviction in his past, and the other one had an assault conviction in his past. And so because of that, and because of the fact that they have been multiple deportations and been caught multiple times, that's part of the reason why they are ordered to be here and not be released again.
Well,
what you're seeing here is that they have everything in multiple languages, obviously. You get a phone call when you walk in, you get your picture taken. And then in a second, you'll see a bus arrive carrying the people that were found yesterday or dropped off yesterday that were Border Patrol. They were apprehended by the Border Patrol. So this is just kind of a look inside the intake area where the guards are. And then when you come in and they process all the new detainees.
Right.
Corrections Corporation of America, that's the private prison. So that's one of their guards. The private prison operator. That question you were asking earlier?
Oh, yeah, and now I forgot it. Oh, right. So, I mean, it's just interesting to bring up the criminal elements of, the whole immigration issue, especially because it's been a hot topic nationwide in recent weeks, with the Kate Steinle murder in San Francisco, learning that individual had been deported 5 times. I mean, that's just one of many examples, but we watched Senate hearings on immigration over the last week or so here on News Now, where we heard from a number of people who were victims, whose family members lost their life as a result of an illegal immigrant who committed a crime. I mean, we had that QT shooting, the Quick Trip shooting.
Here you see in the video the medical staff going out to greet the new arrivals at the detention center. And for people who are kind of just joining us, this video is from a tour from yesterday that we took of the Eloy Detention Center. We put stories on TV, but they were edited.
Right.
This is the unedited video from behind the scenes at the Eloy Detention Center. They opened the doors for the first time to let us in. What you're seeing right now is a bus coming in. That's a Border Patrol bus with people who are apprehended by the Border Patrol. And they're coming in right now with their stuff. You can see their backpacks.
Wow.
And those are some of the detainees walking in right now. We weren't allowed to show faces. That's what they asked us not to do. So that's the reason why you won't see faces of the detainees.
Makes sense.
You may see them blurred out or, glimmers of half a face, but we don't show faces. That's the goal here. So they come in and they're greeted by the staff and some of the medical staff as well. Right. And then they come in to get processed. Some people show up with their passports and show up with papers. Like, it's not, we have this perception, and they kind of, then there's some of their bags that I was talking about earlier, literally suitcases. So some of them show up with passports, some of them show up with documentation, medical records, and stuff like that they carry with them from the country of origin. You just kind of assume that people are in the desert and just that are caught are just, I got nothing, I'm no one.
They're just
nothing.
wandering.
But no, they have a lot of documents prepared, ready to go, so that if they do get here or they are captured, then they can be identified as part of the process. And also held at this detention center are people who showed up at the border and basically say, I want to come in this country.
Okay.
Or like asylum seekers, basically.
Sure.
And there's just some more of the detainees. They don't have shoelaces on for that's every jail and prison. They take your shoelaces away for suicide risks and other risks.
I want to check in with the chat room really quickly. John saying, I just want a sensible immigration policy that discourages illegal immigration. Rachel saying, I think the deportation process is slow because there are so many people. Gioleo, deportations are just a waste of resources when you can come back over the border anytime you'd like. Interesting take from some of our viewers.
And Rachel, yes, Corrections Corporation of America is the private prison. They contract with ICE to do this. They're a private operator. This is not a prison, it's a detention center, but they also contract with the state of Arizona and all over the country running prisons. And this is video of just them being an initial medical kind of check on them, and then they come into the inside, and in a second you'll see what goes on inside of the intake when they come in. And these people range in age. We saw young women and people who look like they could easily be in their 60s. And just in this batch, there were obviously people from Asia and from Latin America.
Wow. How many people came again?
I counted at least 9. It may have been a little bit more. I didn't get an exact count because we didn't stay through the whole thing.
John asked, why couldn't you show faces? Because they asked you not to.
They asked us not to, and these people are going through a pretty traumatic experience. Just kind of, and they also, they have a legal process to go through too. And in these situations, like normally people agree to do it, they sign releases. These people didn't know that the camera was going to be there.
Right.
You may see some glimpses of faces here and there, but we did our best to try to not show them.
Right. So they have to have their shoes removed?
Yes. And they can actually buy new pairs of shoes at the commissary.
Oh, but they can't wear the shoes.
So those are their belongings.
They can't
whatever go into a storage.
So they can't use any of the belongings that they brought with them.
No, they can take, I think, some personal effects and stuff with them, but like their clothes and whatnot, they wear the detention center's uniforms.
Right.
Pictures and stuff like that, and books, and I think they can take a few things with them, but nothing. It's all controlled by the prison or the detention center staff. This is an X-ray machine that they have at the facility, and I mentioned that earlier. They have the ability to take chest X-rays and broken bones and stuff like that right there on site, and those get sent off to the University of Maryland for radiologists to look at them. The medical staff is there, and what we're going to see now, I believe, is some of the medical equipment they have at the facility. One of the big criticisms from some of the people that are housed there is that they weren't getting the proper medical care, and so this is kind of an effort to show us what the medical staff is like there.
Right. Rachel, one of our viewers in the chat room, has a question. I think I just scrolled down. How do they accommodate for the different religious beliefs of the various cultures there?
At the end of this video, you'll see a chapel, and they have services.
Okay.
Some weekly, some often regularly, all different religions, and they bring people in from the outside. And there's a lot of volunteer organizations who go in, religious groups, and conduct a mass if they're Catholic, or if they're Jewish, they'll bring in a rabbi. That's just some video now of the outside and them walking to different areas. They kind of go in groups to recreation time. There's a basketball court outside and some fitness equipment, and then also we were there during lunchtime.
Right. So what is the daily schedule like for someone who
It varies because there's
detained?
1,500 people, so they kind of do it in shifts, but it's like,
What do they typically, well, I guess, what are the things they do
this is just
in a typical day?
If you're watching the video, this is a doctor's office, or one of the medical offices where you can, get an exam. And
Right.
Nurse practitioners and physician's assistants and doctors are there regularly. So the schedule is all over. I mean, usually you're in your pod, and you'll see the pods in a minute. They're pretty free flowing. There's a lot of people, and you can interact with each other, and you'll see them doing puzzles and crocheting. And then lunch is midday. They have a dentist's office at the facility.
They have pretty good. This is surprisingly nice.
You're not getting veneers there, though.
Okay.
There are limits. It's just the most basic. dental needs like cavities and stuff like that. They don't do crowns, but they have a dentist's office there and a dentist that does an evaluation. So if you do have a cavity and you're complaining about it, it'll get taken care of there. So but the key is speaking up if you have an issue.
Right.
You know, if you speak up and you say I don't feel well, you'll get seen by a doctor. Some people are complaining
And
about
this
that.
is the pharmacy?
This is the pharmacy. Two pharmacists are on staff there.
Wow. And all of this is readily available for anyone detained. They don't have to pay for any of the medical services,
No.
dental services, the access to the medicine.
No.
Interesting.
And here's one of the detainees being checked out. So here they gave us some medical statistics. 18,685 medical visits conducted with Eloy detainees. 27,141 prescriptions filled for Eloy detainees. 1,763 dental visits with Eloy detainees. 5,836 mental health visits for Eloy detainees.
Wow.
They get a mental health evaluation too.
Well, that makes sense, I suppose, because, you know, you have to look out for any sort of potential threats.
And if anyone was wondering, the average daily cost to house one person at the detention center is $69.
$69 a day
$69 a day.
per person.
And they're about 1,500 at the facility. It kind of ebbs and flows, the total number, because some come, some go. But it's usually their maximum capacity is 1,550, and they're pretty much close to it. So you see, as I was mentioning earlier, the color uniforms for different levels of criminal history.
Mm-hmm.
And we were given the tour by the medical people who run the medical
Right.
staff. So next, I believe we're going to be going into the kitchen, which was fascinating. And you can see this is just some shots of the outside here and what it's like. You know, they're not necessarily escorted at all times when they're walking around the facility. The guys who are low risk can walk over to the mess hall when it's time to eat.
Right.
Follow the schedule. They go out for recreation. Oh, there's some people out the recreation area right now.
Right
Basketball
here.
court. They have like some weight equipment. There's water out there too. Squats, huh? How about that?
Getting some exercise.
So this is the dining hall. When we went, they hadn't started yet. They were still cooking lunch. They eat in shifts. And on the menu that day was chicken and dumplings, corn, bread, pasta, and Jell-O.
Sounds
The
pretty good.
meals are kind of designed by a dietitian, and the kind of ingredients and stuff and the prep is all sort of structured. They go through a significant amount of food. They get about 3,000 calories a day.
Wow. Well, so I have a question, and I'm sure you talk to officials about this, or I mean, this comes up very frequently. Do you just rock in, points out, as an American, I have to pay for not only my own medical, but for every one of these criminals invading our borders? I mean, this is all taxpayer money that's funding this,
Yes.
I assume?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just
it's not donations.
Fairly decent facilities. You have healthcare taken care of. There's so many people in the United States that are here legally that have problems with health insurance, for example, or getting adequate health care, or their premiums are too high, or things like. I mean, that's just interesting to me.
This is the kitchen. These are the guys that volunteer to cook. And there's the kind of the line. So there you have the bread. They got the chicken and dumplings, the Jell-O, the carrots.
Wow,
and
yeah.
significant amount of butter. for
Oh,
the
wow.
bread. And they're making, over 1,000 meals for every lunch period.
Right.
You don't have to eat the food if you don't want to, and you'll see the commissary in a minute where you can get ramen noodles and stuff like that and eat and not have to eat this food. But this is available, and it really wasn't that bad. I tried it.
They're decent cooks.
A lot of the reporters actually tried it. That may be one of the sections we fast forward through.
You don't want to show people.
Well, you can show me eating it, but this is all. You keep in mind, this is our raw video, unedited. So
Right.
it's us at work, putting our stories together for TV.
Right. So
And there's a shot of this. So the chicken and dumplings is right there in the middle.
Right here.
And then you got
Chicken
the
and
pasta, you
dumplings.
got your carrots, your bread, and then you got a plastic spork that it comes with.
and
a
then
little
there's the
cup.
Jello right
Yeah.
there. The red. So. Did
Really,
you?
the chicken and dumplings wasn't bad. I
Okay.
tried it. It tasted like something you could get out of the can at the grocery store.
Did you meet anyone at the facility that enjoyed being there? That didn't find it that actually liked
it's
their
hard-
accommodation?
We weren't necessarily allowed to interact with
Okay.
the detainees, but some of them were very polite. Like during this time when we were sampling the food, they were, standing
Right.
next to us. They kind of were interested to see if we liked it. They have a vegetarian option too.
Oh, wow.
That's rice and beans.
Okay.
And they were like bringing us extra forks and stuff.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't like, I didn't get the sense from many of them like they had sort of animosity, and any outsider that they saw, they would just want to be rude to. There were
Right.
some people that they were extremely friendly. We didn't talk to them, but you could tell that they were interested in and welcoming and friendly.
Right. I guess I'm just looking at this and
We can fast forward through this stuff.
Andrew.
Well, this is me trying it.
The main entree, chicken and dumplings,
You know.
made by the inmates.
This is actually the first time I took a bite. I didn't practice it.
Not bad. Tastes like
So we'll fast forward a little bit. Sorry. There we go. So we're back
Okay.
in the mess hall here. A few of us all kind of were able to shoot something with trying the food.
Right.
So these are the guys eating. They eat in shifts, as I mentioned. It's a significant meal. 3,000 calories
That's
a
a
day. That's a lot
lot.
of food. I mean, they don't have to eat all 3,000,
Sure.
but that's what's available.
Just rockin', how many American vets are homeless and can't afford food to eat or medical attention, while these criminals get free video games, 3 meals a day, and better health care? It's just one viewer's opinion.
Just exactly.
But I mean, I can understand Just Rockin's statement.
It's a
Because looking at this facility,
nice facility.
it's not bad at all. I
No.
guess, you think of, you see people that are homeless on the streets, and you see the conditions they're living in, and then you kind of see these conditions,
Mm-hmm.
and this, for some people, would be a dream facility,
It's I mean, my impression of when I saw it is it's definitely nicer than your common sort of jail.
Right.
Certainly nicer than Tent City here
Right.
in Maricopa County. But it still is very secured, and you'll always have that feeling when you're there that you're in a jail-like environment.
Right.
It's not an
It's not
an
nice.
unjail-like environment.
Right.
You're still like in a cell at night, lights out like 9:30, and you go into a room.
Right.
With a roommate.
Limited freedom.
Very limited freedom for sure. So these are the guys walking to lunch, I believe. And in a second, we'll head into the commissary. So those guys who are volunteering to cook, they get $1 a day deposited into their commissary account that they can spend money on. If you show up with cash, you have the option of putting it in your commissary account. If say you're on the crossing the border and you have cash on you,
Right.
you can put it in your commissary account. They can store it and give it to you later.
Okay.
Well,
So
people
that doesn't get
fam-
confiscated?
No, not at all. Family members, they can't seize your property unless
Right.
the judge orders them to. So they say you have a family member you came from Guatemala and your family wants to help you out. They can wire money to your commissary account too.
Right.
So-
That's similar to prison,
Very
jail.
similar. So that can all happen, and these guys can spend the money at the commissary, which is frankly like a little grocery store. And what we'll see in a second is them making the bags. So you can pick what you want, and then a group of detainees assembles the bag for you. So things like, I'll read just some of the items here. Kellogg Pop-Tarts, brown sugar, Carnation breakfast mix variety pack, Cheetos Flamin' Hot Crunchy,
Wow.
Doritos Nacho Cheese, Golden Valley Saltine Crackers, Cactus Hot and Spicy Corn Chips. They have variety of ramen. They have batteries, Cajun chicken ramen, hot and spicy vegetable ramen. For soup, limit, look at the limit here, 60 per week.
Limit.
There is a lot of food in there.
But how many people are buying 60 packets of ramen a week?
You'd be surprised. Wait, so here they are loading up some of the packs.
Wow.
So there's some ramen and some other items there.
Is that a Walkman?
They also have
that's
toiletries.
pretty-
Yes, you can buy a Walkman. You can buy a flash drive. You have a 6-foot headphone extension cord with a mini jack so they can watch TV or listen to music. So they're packaging it up right now for every detainee. And you can see
Based on their order.
Based on their order. You can see some of their orders back there. Sodas, ramen noodles, bags, and then the most popular item you never get. What would you think?
Okay,
Really
can I
most
look at
popular
this
item?
list at least?
It's a 2-page list, so you'll be there for a while.
Okay. Can I at least get the category that
It's
it's in?
food.
It's under
definitely
food?
Yeah. And they also have toiletries and shampoo and stuff like that. And the prices, as I was saying, are not like, they're not gouging by any means. A bag of M&Ms plain is $1.35.
Wow, these prices. Nutella you can get for $6.52.
Deodorant's like $1.50, $2. Salt and pepper shakers, $2.73. Tapatio hot sauce, $1.47. There's the ramen in the bag.
Well, I mean,
ready
you
for
see all the
delivery.
people getting ramen, you assume that that's
There
the
is
most
the most popular
but
item
is it
right there.
cookies?
Maria's cookies.
I was gonna say soft chocolate chip cookies.
Those are the most popular item on the
Maria's
list.
cookies.
Maria's
Where's
cookies.
that? Oh, I see right here. They're 81 cents a packet.
That's a deal.
I feel like I should get a little bit of credit because I was gonna guess cookie, but I saw soft
They have
chocolate.
toiletries too. Colgate toothpaste, deodorant, mouthwash,
Where
you
is
name
that?
it.
Oh, right
there's
here.
2 pages.
Hygiene.
And I'm gonna actually tweet this list later today if you really are curious about what's on the list.
I
I'm gonna
think
tweet it out.
some of these prices are cheaper than fries.
They absolutely are.
That's what I'm surprised by. I was like, oh, you can get deodorant, or it's wow.
So one question that I had when I saw the ramen, I think it's kind of common sense. I asked, so how do they eat it? You need hot water to boil ramen, right?
Right. Well, some people eat it plain.
Oof. It doesn't cook, does it?
Well,
I guess you could stick it in water, but that's not very
I
appetizing.
guess I remember in elementary school, the cool thing to do was have ramen for your snack, and you would get ramen and add the seasoning, and then crush it all, and you'd eat it like chips.
No.
I don't know. This was like elementary school.
We had hot water in my
Okay.
school. They put hot water in
No,
it.
but it was like a thing to do.
In the pods, you'll see in a second, because I think next we're heading to the living quarters. There are microwaves in them. So you can go and heat up your noodles, your ramen noodles, and hang out, watch TV, or do whatever, and eat your ramen and never have to eat the detainee-made lunch if you wanted to.
But it's free food. Might as well. It's not bad.
I mean,
I would just buy snacks.
You might not love the food, but I have a hard time believing that anyone could ever be hungry.
Right. Tamara saying, can we go shopping there?
It's a pretty good deal. A bottle of water was 40 cents.
Right. Wow.
Find me a 40-cent big bottle of water.
What
anywhere.
brand?
Sparklets.
Okay. Rachel saying, the way I see it, these people are illegal, yes, but they are human. Treat them with compassion. We don't know why they fled. Deport them if you may, but provide materials to study to become a citizen.
They also have the clothing here. You could wear a size 7 shoe that's approved by this detention center. And this is the recreation area that you saw earlier. The guys playing at. We were shown when it was empty. Reading glasses, $6.25. Ladies Speed Stick Shower Fresh, $2.97. Neutrogena soap, $4. Suave Daily Clarifying Shampoo, $2.60. Dial Roll-On Deodorant, $1.77. Mouthwash, $1.76. Body Wash, $2.90. Colgate Toothpaste, $3.92. Now we don't know the sizes of these items, but if they're just standard grocery store, pharmacy style size, it's not a bad price.
I just want to point out some of the things that I find so random on here. You can buy I love you cards for $1.24.
You can write out of there.
Spanish love cards,
You're not
birthday
allowed to do
cards.
email from the prison, even though they do have some limited internet access. No email, but you have phones, and they charge for the phone.
Right.
And you can do snail mail.
Christmas cards, $1.24. So you can buy cookies for 81 cents. Or a Christmas card. I would just send the cookies as the gift instead of the Christmas card. Wow. It's interesting just the kinds of things that people need.
Mm-hmm.
or what they offer people. Ice cream, lasagna.
So it looks like Peggy did the math. Taxpayers are paying $106,950 per day to house these people.
And that's
which
only one facility.
I'm not gonna. I don't mean to second guess, but before
So
I'm
it's
gonna
69
so 69 times
times-
1550.
Right,
That would be the max,
right.
and that is correct.
That is
so it's almost
exactly.
$107,000.
Peggy's
a
on
day.
top of her math.
She is on top. And this is going into one of the pods that is the living quarters. If you've watched the show Orange Is the New Black,
I think
it's a
that's-
very similar environment. To
Right.
that. Although instead of sleeping in a dorm-like sleeping quarters, they have a room, two to a room, with a toilet and a sink and all that stuff. But it's very jail-like. It's not like a private bathroom or anything. The
Right.
toilet's right there.
That's what I was just gonna ask.
The showers are right in the open.
Right.
And that's for security reasons.
Sure.
So this is we at first we were able to look through the glass into one of the pods, and then we were let inside one of the pods, and everybody was super nice. You may expect that in a situation like that, people would be yelling at us, or just not happy to see a TV camera and a dozen or so reporters and
Right.
ICE management walking around, but nobody was inappropriate, or everyone was actually really polite and waved goodbye when we were leaving. It was like, waving to the camera.
I know you weren't able to speak with the people that are housed there, but what language did you hear them speak, if you noticed any?
Definitely Spanish. the
Spanish.
most, yeah, definitely.
Any English speakers, really?
A lot of people were speaking English, yeah.
Okay.
In fact, one of the guys that we interviewed spoke broken English. He lived in the U.S. for 4 years, and here they are opening it up for us to go in. There are the showers.
Okay,
it's
so there's still
So it's a big open
curtains.
space. It's a two-story space. Oh yeah, they're curtains, but it's not like you have a private shower room.
When you told me what you told me a minute ago, I assumed there were no curtains. It was just out in the open. I was like, wow, that's really
So
revealing.
it's 2 stories worth of dorms. It's 2 stories worth of like dorm type rooms,
Right.
and then downstairs is a big common space. They have, I believe it was 3 televisions. One is English language, one is Spanish language, and there's the microwave that you heat your ramen up in. There's 2 per pod, and then another one they're playing movies, and they have phones inside the pod. So you'll see people on the phone, and they have to pay for those phone calls, but they can make them inside the pod. They took us to a women's area, and there were groups watching television. Obviously, emotional time for a lot of people.
right.
There were groups watching television. There was a group, doing a big puzzle. They also allow you to crochet, so you'll see them doing that. There they are watching television, Univision, and they hook it up with the headphones. You can see the lady on the left there
Right,
wearing
right here.
headphones.
So they have to buy those headphones in order to hear what's
Yes,
being said.
and then they are able to plug it into a jack. They have multiple jacks, and you can watch. Isn't that the guy from Dancing with the Stars?
Is it? I missed his face pre-kiss. Go back. No, I don't think so.
Anyway, I'm not all caught up in my
Pop culture.
Univision telenovelas, but he looked familiar. And so you can see them doing a puzzle there. So that they're able to interact with each other, for most of the day when they're outside of rec hours, where they're going outside or whatever.
Right. It's not like solitary
No,
confinement
it's
or
not.
anything.
You're not locked in your cell at all. It's not like that.
Right.
And that's kind of the impression that you have when you hear, oh, they're in the detention center, they're in that. You think prison environment. You
Right.
think locked up in a cell. You think that, but it was not like that. I mean,
Right.
crocheting, doing puzzles, out hanging out in a pod.
Sure.
And you can go back to your room if you want, read a book and relax, take a nap, whatever. But at 9:30 at night is when it's kind of lights out. And this is a cell here. So it's 2 to a cell, there's a bunk, That's your bed, toilet, sink, and a little table to sit at. So that's it. That's the living quarters.
Wow.
You see not a lot of personal effects. They keep their stuff in a bin underneath.
Right.
It looks like they're able to take some of their things with them.
Is that a book with Jesus on the cover?
Yeah, and there's a library at the facility where they can check out books.
Okay.
So just a better look at kind of the environment in there. And each cell has a panic button in there. So if there's a medical issue or something's happening, you can push that button and staff will come immediately. And just as a test, like they were showing us, they push the button. And as soon as the button's pushed, you can see the guard. There's rings of alarm where the guards are. And they come right over. And inside, there's people of all races.
Right.
It's obvious it's not all Latin America, Asian and Caucasians.
In both genders.
Yes,
Men,
both
women.
genders. But this they took us to a women's facility.
Who was? What age was the youngest person you
Well,
saw?
they have to be 18 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is an adult detention center.
Okay.
So anyone who's under 18 gets put in a juvenile program.
Okay. So, if they arrived with their parents, then they would be separated in that situation.
That's if they're ordered to have to
Stay
have
there.
a mandatory detainer. It's
Right.
laid out by the Homeland Security head what is someone who has to be held and who doesn't. There's only a couple minutes left of the tour, and in the last couple rooms, they took us to the library and the internet room, kind of, but it's not really internet. I'll explain when you see it, and a chapel, and that was the whole tour. The library, they have books in like dozens of languages. So if you wanted, you could obviously have an English language book, and then they have Mandarin,
Right.
all these different languages. And this is just video showing you kind of what the security apparatus is like. You have to be buzzed in, the doors are very secure. Here's the library. And the
Wow.
detainees can come and check out a book and read.
Huh. Danielle Steele novel.
I know.
This is just so.
Notice how it's still on the shelf.
That's true. That is true.
And you can see some guys in there reading. So that in the foreign language section, you'll see it in a second. It's an entire wall that's just foreign language.
Wow. So you were there for a good amount of time.
Couple hours. The tour lasted a couple of hours. And they also allow them to access computers, and it's not internet like we would have at your desktop at home
Right.
or work. They basically allow you to only access your court filings, so
Oh.
you can read up on your case if you wanted to.
Oh.
So they allow it's LexisNexis is what it's called, so you can get the documents for your case and read up on it, and it's a legal library as well.
Right.
So they can look for themselves and read up on the immigration law if they want to. The foreign language section.
What?
What was that? And that's a guy reading up on his case. And so you can spend all the time. You can do as much research on your case as you want.
Right.
And this is the chapel, multi-denominational. There's a chaplain there, but it's
Right.
not like, it's not a Catholic chapel. It's not a Christian chapel. It's not a synagogue. It's whatever you want it
It's
to be.
just a religious
It's a
space.
religious space. Yeah, it has a setup of a church. There's a area for a speaker for whoever is, running that
Right.
specific event, and they have every different religion that you can imagine.
Like even the obscure small one.
Definitely. I mean, they're prepared for anything, any different religion. So they can bring somebody in from the outside. Volunteer groups can come in and do a service.
All right. Well, it looks like we have gone through all 42 minutes
that was
of
the tour.
behind-the-scenes
Hope
video.
you enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I'm very surprised by a lot of it, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers are as well.
What would you say surprised? See, now you saw the same thing I did. So you
So-
asked me that question to
Right.
start. So what surprised you the most?
Man, first of all, the facilities are nicer. There's social interaction. This shopping list surprised me a lot. Just all the things they have access to, especially the prices. I mean, these are very reasonable prices compared to what inmates in jail have to pay. The food and the 3,000 calories, the fact that I think almost a lot of it surprised me.
Me
A
too.
good amount of this tour and a good amount of the video you showed me surprised me. I guess it's not as bad as you would think.
It was an eye-opening experience for me, for sure.
Right.
And there's another fact here from ICE that I want to mention because we talked about the color coding of all the different detainees and their
Right.
criminal history. 50% of the Eloy detainees have prior criminal convictions. They don't all have criminal convictions, but some of them have mandatory detainers. They have to be held for a variety of other immigration reasons, not necessarily because they have a criminal conviction.
Okay.
But the people that are there are people who have been ordered to be detained.
Wow.
So there you go.
That
Hope you
is
enjoyed
a
it.
very thorough update, Andrew.
You got it.
Any final questions from viewers? I know you need to work on your story for today.
Spare a few minutes.
But if any viewers have any
I know
questions
Lana
for
and I do
Andrew.
not get on Facebook.
Yeah, I know. They were saying they get to surf the web. Why? Super, no, they don't really get
They don't
internet.
really get to surf the web. They get access to the law library, and they can read up on their case.
Young Break saying, other than being illegal in the U.S., are any of them charged for other crimes like assault, rape, homicide? And if they are,
Yes.
is everyone together or separated based on potential threat? That's a
They
good
are-
question.
There are people with serious crimes there, and that's why they are there.
Mm-hmm.
They're not allowed to be released. And yes, they are separated. That's when I was talking about the different colors of the uniforms. People with the more serious crimes are housed in a different facility.
Mm-hmm.
They don't house a violent offender with someone who's nonviolent.
Makes
They
sense.
house them based on that classification.
Super small is 3,000 calories. Wow, that's way more than my intake.
Me
They're
too, that's a
definitely
lot.
fed in there. I know. I struggled to hit like 1,500 maybe. Wow.
I mean, pasta and chicken and dumplings.
Those are
That's
high
a high,
calorie.
that's a significant, that's
But
a
Jello's
significant
like
meal.
0 calories.
And carrots and bread.
Yeah.
But that was a big meal. That wasn't a small lunch.
Right. That was lunch. It wasn't even dinner.
I know.
What were
What's dinner? I didn't ask what dinner was. I only asked what lunch was.
What about breakfast?
I didn't ask.
Andrew,
I
go
didn't
back.
think about
Go
it.
back.
I was like, what's for lunch? Because that's what they're making.
People need to know.
Well, for many of them, it's going to be ramen, since they bought 60 bags of it.
And Maria's cookies. Maria's cookies. Thank you so much. I
Thank
feel
you.
like we've
I'm
learned
glad
a
we're
lot.
able to do this because, we only get to see, some of the highlights on television. And this is a great thing for people to see because they see it all.
Right.
They see everything that we saw behind the scenes.
Well, thanks, Andrew, for
Thank
giving
you.
us this update, guys.
Thank you.
We have a lot more news now ahead. We have so many press conferences.
There was one last question.
Muntadar.
Do the women and men mix? Not in the living quarters, no. It doesn't appear that they mix that often.
So, okay.
I'm not sure. I don't know if they mix in the mess hall and
Right.
the recreation areas. I don't know if they do.
Now, on that same note, if a husband and wife are detained, are they separate, or do they get a space to,
I didn't
intimate?
I didn't ask the question, but they never said that was the case, and I didn't see any mixed. And I don't think that they would make special arrangements to have like a mixed, cell because they're in group settings.
Right.
So then you have one man and one woman and 50 other women.
Yeah.
So I doubt it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I was asking specifically if, like, let's say they
Would they
were
be able to live
married.
together?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think they would. I don't know.
Okay.
But I doubt it because facilitating that would be a significant
Right.
amount of work.
All right, Andrew. Well, thanks for that update.
Thank
Just
you.
rocking. Awesome Andrew story. Thank you so much. Apple Snapple thanking you. Lots of people.
And if I'll be tweeting this list out later from the Commissary.
You can
if
find
you
him,
wanna see it.
Andrew
You can find
Fox
it,
10.
Andrew Fox 10. 2 pages long if you want to see all the items available for purchase.
It's a very fascinating
We should
list.
get you a pack of Maria's cookies.
I want to know what they taste like.
It's a big Latin American brand. Is what I
But
was
can
told.
we find a Latin American grocery store and get some
Go
Maria's
find
cookies
some
in
Maria's
here?
cookies? I wonder if they're 81 cents over there. for that big
Probably
roll.
more. I want some Maria's cookies. If anyone can find some, please send them over.
Thank you.
Thanks.